We are stronger than we know. We are braver than we believe. And we can go through anything and any challenge placed upon us. Hi, I'm Caleen. I'm a mind and body transformation coach, and I'm the founder also of Yoga for Moms. I've always had a clean bill of health, and even before I got pregnant, there was nothing on my ovaries, and it was a shock to me that when my son was about 4 months old that I found out that I had this 8 by 5 centimeter ovarian cyst, like a can of Coke, on my left ovary. And when I found out, I was actually really stunned because, number one, there was no symptoms whatsoever. And when I gave birth, it was all clear. So for it to grow so huge in just 4 months was really a shock to me. I've been practicing yoga for about 15 years now, and because of that, I have a very good mind and body connection. My body speaks to me in a way that I think a lot of people will find it quite miraculous. But my body sent messages to my mind, and my mind would send me messages every single night before I sleep. And it was a very clear message. It was a sentence. It wasn't a dream. So it was before I went to bed, I would have this message that I have a growth. And because it was so persistent, I couldn't ignore it, and I decided to go for a full body checkup. That's how I found it. So once I found out that the cyst was 8 by 5 cm, I also did a full blood test for cancer markers. So it was a marker for liver and kidney that was really elevated. So a normal person's would be below 70, right? Like 60 or 50 below. Mine was 600 something. And so when I got back that blood test report, I was really shocked, and I felt, you know, really like helpless at that moment because I didn't know what to do. I took the test results to the gynae, and the gynae told me to quickly do a laparoscopic removal of the cyst and send it for a lab test to ensure that it is benign. And thankfully, it was benign. So after my first surgery, the doctor actually took a video and showed me that the surgery was a complete success. She said that there was no leakage and I should be fine from now on, right? So they just removed the cyst, my ovaries look fine. And I was supposed to go for a follow-up check, but then pandemic hit because I did the surgery end of January 2020, and as everyone knows, by March 2020 we were under lockdown, right? And so I decided not to go back to the hospital because I felt fine, and I thought that I can wait for a follow-up because the surgery went well anyways. By August 2020, again my body sent a signal to my mind, and my mind sent me a message. So the message was that I needed to go for a follow-up check. And so the second time I went for a follow-up check, I was really shocked because the cyst had regrown to almost the exact same size, same location, and looked almost identical. It was almost as if I never went for surgery in the first place. And by then my marker again was elevated to 500 something. So the second time was, I think I felt a little bit of despair, because the first time you still have a little bit of hope, and then when it regrows you're like, why and what can I do? And there's a little bit of despair and hopelessness. And by then also my doctor told me that she has never seen anything like this, which added on to the feeling of, you know, hopelessness, right? And uncertainty, not knowing why is this happening, what can I do about it? I decided to seek other doctors' opinion. I went to see a total of 4 other doctors who are highly regarded, and none of them could give me an explanation or a proper solution except that I needed to go for another surgery, and this time I might have to remove my entire left ovary. I fell a little bit into a depression, but I think that because I did not want to go for surgery yet, I felt that the first surgery didn't work. What makes the doctor so sure that the second surgery would be a success, right? And someone introduced me to naturopathy, and I decided to try it for a few years. So initially it worked. Initially my cyst didn't grow, But after a while, it started again growing, but at a slower pace. So it did start to grow. And the doctors told me that, as long as I have no symptoms, it is still okay to wait and monitor and see, because we already knew the cyst was benign. So there was really no urgency. But if I were to start experiencing symptoms, then it would be time for surgery. In November 2022, which is about almost 3 years, right, from the first time I discovered the cyst, I suddenly one day I had a really sharp pain in my bladder, and I almost couldn't walk for 15 minutes. So it was just that one time. But experiencing that sharp pain, immediately my husband and I knew that this was not normal, and I had to quickly go for another checkup. So I decided to seek out another doctor, and we also feel that it was by God's grace we found her. So we found this doctor who happened to be the head of gynecology of a government hospital. So she has a lot of experience, and she knows those who are in the know or who have experience in this field. So when she saw my cyst, actually when you scan the cyst, the size is only about 14 cm. So if you think about it, from 8 to 14, it's not so big, right? For a 2-year growth. She actually measured all the way up to my abdomen, and she said that it's actually not 14, it's 22. And when she said that, my husband and I were stunned, because the doctors all just told us that, okay, whatever you see on screen, that's the measurement. But this doctor knew better. She said that the ultrasound machine is not able to detect, right, such a huge cyst. And the moment she saw it, she said to me that I have to go for surgery because it's grown so much, it's compressing my organs, and I have no choice but to remove my entire left ovary. That was what she told me. So this doctor actually referred me to a surgeon who's actually very familiar with this type of cyst that I have. So the cyst that I have is called a benign mucinous cystadenoma, right? So it's benign, but it's a mucus type of cyst. And what that means is, like, mucus type of cysts, they can multiply by itself even if 1 or 2 drops of mucus was left behind, right? So my first surgery, even though it was successful, even if 1 or 2 drops of the cells were left behind on my ovary, because my ovary was not touched or removed at that time, it could just multiply again. And so that was what the surgeon told me. So for me, at that moment, I was just grateful to have a doctor who could finally give me some assurance, some answers, and who had experience dealing with my type of cyst. I saw 4 other doctors, and they could never tell me why this was happening, how I could prevent it, or exactly what is the cure, right? Except to just go for surgery. And so when I met my new surgeon, because he does this type of surgery every week, right? He told me that there is no clear cause, that it's not hereditary, it's not based on your food, your lifestyle, it's really unknown. It happens to women of all different backgrounds, but the only thing he told me was that it happens to women very early, in their early 20s to early 30s. Because I was 31 when I found out about this cyst, and he told me that his youngest patient is 24. So when I heard that, it was really painful to hear, to know that a 24-year-old who has never given birth, never even gotten married, would have to remove her ovaries. And at that moment, I felt that maybe God put me in this position so that I could create some awareness, so that maybe other women don't have to go through this alone. By then, because I think I was so shocked that the cyst had grown to 22 cm, I had already come to acceptance that there was no other way. Of course, it was very difficult because the type of surgery that he told me I had to do initially is the open laparotomy, which is like a huge open surgery, and he said it would be from my belly button down, or even slightly higher than my belly button because it was so big. So to me, the difficulty was actually in accepting that I would have to go for such a huge open surgery, not knowing my recovery, and also what effect it would have on my body. So I'm really grateful. Actually, the surgery went really well, and post-surgery, my healing has, I think, superseded the doctor's expectations, because the day I got out of surgery, I told the doctors I didn't want any painkillers, and the doctor was really stunned, and he asked me to take painkillers for him, not for me. But I decided to listen to my body. No matter how painful it was, I said to myself, I wanted to be free of painkillers because I wanted to feel my body, and so that I would know to what extent I could move my body or if I needed to rest my body. And so it was a very conscious decision. And I feel that by doing that, my body actually recovered a lot faster than a lot of people. Within 1 month, I was already, back to normal in most ways. And I started doing yoga within like 5 to 6 weeks. Initially, I had so much fear about losing a part of myself. Losing my ovary felt like I was losing my womanhood. Like 3 years ago, when the doctors told me that I might have to lose a part of me, I really couldn't reconcile that thought at that moment. I couldn't accept it because I felt that it would make me less of a woman. Right now, after going through this, I feel that losing a part of ourselves does not make us any less of a woman, but in fact it can make us even more of a woman, because we can now truly empathize and understand what other women go through. And how beautiful is that we are able to connect on a much deeper level with other women. I actually had a very deep reflection of life, and I felt that in a way it was a gift for me, because in that moment I actually contemplated my own mortality, and I told myself, if I only have a limited amount of time to live, right, how would I live my life? Will I do it any differently, right? And it was during that time that I told myself, if I were to come out of this, I will, number one, be a very present mother, because at that time my son was only 4 months old, so I really wanted to be the best mother I can to him. And number two, I told myself that whatever I did from then on must make a positive impact in the world and society. So at that moment I decided that I will not do anything or business that does not have a positive impact. Instead of asking God, why me? Why is it happening to me? I decided to ask, why not me? If this has to happen to anyone, why not me? I have the resources. I feel that I'm strong enough to go through this. And I also have a platform, right? I have my Yoga for Moms community. There are women who are part of my community who might benefit from my story. And so I thought, if this has to happen to me, let me use it for good. And that gave me a new sense of purpose moving forward as well. It gave me strength, it gave me courage, and it gave me hope. So my advice is, number one, to take it one step at a time. To just live each day in the present moment, looking at, okay, right now, what can I do? What can I learn about my condition? What is it that I would like to do with my time, right? So living it one day at a time, that's the first thing. The second thing I would say that's really helped me is the practice of gratitude. So when we are thrown into a situation like this, it's easy to see the black dot on the white piece of paper, right? Because your life is like a white piece of paper, so beautiful, but when something like this happens, it's like a black dot. And you just focus on it, and you lose sight of everything else that's beautiful in life. So the practice of gratitude really helped me to look at what was good. What am I grateful for? What else is working in my life? Instead of focusing on the one thing that I couldn't control or was, something that was pulling me down, right? And thirdly, I would say, is to be prayerful. Whatever your religion or beliefs may be, right? To pray, to have faith that something good will come out of this, that you'll be okay. And to surround yourself with people who would cheer you on. I think it's so important to have that support, that sense of community. I have had so many people pray for me, send me love messages, and even walked me through, when I was going to the surgery room. I even had a friend who was walking with me all the way there And even when I came out, waited for me. So I think it's so important to surround ourselves with people who will lift us up. Like right now, I strongly advocate for women to go for their yearly checks, no matter how young you are or how well you think you are, to go for your yearly checks just to have a peace of mind and to make sure that your body is, you know, in its best possible form, right? So from my experience, you know, the medical field is always advancing. So there's always hope for us. You know, whatever you may be going through, there's always hope. But at the same time, there's a big gap in the information dissemination. You know, not every doctor has the same knowledge, not every doctor has the same experience, and the same access to information. So it is also our job as a patient, right, to take control in that sense, to seek out a doctor who has the experience or at least has some sort of a knowledge with regards to our condition. I feel that we can always benefit from a second, third, fourth, fifth opinion and not just take the first advice that we get, just to make sure that we are in the best possible care. So one thing that a lot of us don't realize is that we are stronger than we know. We are braver than we believe, and we can go through anything and any challenge placed upon us, right? So if you too are going through a similar, you know, or any health concerns at all, know that you're not alone. Know that you too can go through this and you can come out of this stronger and better than before.